Amplitude is, of course, Harmonix's remake of their cult 2003 PS2 rhythm game. Now, full disclosure, I've never played the original, but it did very little to hamper my enjoyment of this stupendously entertaining finger assault simulator, even if it naturally brings a fair degree of frustration with it. One might glibly call it Guitar Hero with a rocket ship, but its roots naturally predate that franchise, and what the 2016 redo brings to the table is flashy new HD graphics and an entirely new setlist of 30 songs. But with Guitar Hero Live doing some really incredible things for the rhythm genre, is there still a place for something like this? Well, yes, absolutely is the answer. In case you're unaware, the gameplay entails the player controlling a ship through space, where they have to navigate across half a dozen tracks for guitar, drums, bass, synth, vocals and so on, shooting designated icons with the L1, R1 and R2 buttons by default. Thankfully, if you find this mapping too clumsy though, you can change it in the options menu. So you shoot your way across the maps in order to amass points, rack up streaks and maintain your energy level, the depletion of which results in a game over. You've also got a number of power-ups to help you out, such as one that slows down time, one that clears a track section for you, a score multiplier and so on. The mechanics are simple enough, but what makes Amplitude so ultimately addictive and infuriating is its steep difficulty curve. If, like me, you're arrogant enough to dive straight into the advanced difficulty, you'll probably crash and burn before making it 50% into any song, while the expert difficulty truly separates the wheat from the chaff. While the game isn't exactly a picnic right out of the gate on intermediate difficulty either, this and beginner mode do provide a solid introduction to the core mechanics, and there's a tremendously satisfying feeling as you see yourself improving, stepping up the difficulty progressively, though the pesky expert mode may well still elude you after many days of play. So it's fun and it's really difficult, but let's look at what doesn't quite work. Well, considering that the original game features the likes of Blink-182, Slipknot, David Bowie, Weezer, Run DMC and POD? Remember those guys? It's something of a come down that Amplitude 2016 features a far more niche selection of songs, 1/3 of which were composed in-house by Harmonix. That's not to say that they're terrible by any means, but only a few of them have memorable hooks, and they largely just blur together into a forgettable nothing. For me, the game's most disappointing feature, or rather non-feature, is the lack of online multiplayer, considering this existed in the original game a whole 13 years ago. The only multiplayer here is local 4-player for both co-op and competitive play, but if there's any game niche enough that it would make sense to prioritise an online multiplayer component, it's this one. Because frankly, finding 3 buddies to play a controller-based rhythm game with just isn't that easy. I also suspect some may find the difficulty a little on the grating side on higher levels, in part because the skill of track switching so often feels like it relies more on luck, as the transitions can seem somewhat cheap. That said, this isn't really a game aimed at casual players, so the hardcore crowd that comprises most of Amplitude's fanbase will largely enjoy the challenge. The lack of rumble support also feels like a major missed opportunity, again because it was in the original game, but that's just a minor quibble. With an addictive one more quality that will keep you playing long into the night, Amplitude combines simplistic mechanics with a high degree of challenge that will keep the fanatics coming back for more time and time again. For newbies looking to dip their toes, you're probably best testing out the trial on PSN first, because you might not get your money's worth. Though it could be improved by a more varied and memorable track list, Amplitude is still a terrifically fun, challenging rhythm blast for the most part, and gets 2016 off to a strong start. Amplitude scrapes an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching, I'll be here from dusk till dawn.